of the Pasco School Board of Directors. I will call this meeting to order. This meeting was preceded by our study session at 4:30, which was centered around our long-term facilities management plan. We heard from Mr. Jake Stickle, who presented to us the two scenarios that we had discussed previously in March, and dug a little bit deeper into those two scenarios. And if you're interested in hearing that board discussion and study session, I encourage you to search that up on our YouTube channel for the school district. So we will go on to the next item on our agenda, which is our flag salute, led by our student board representatives this evening. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, student board representatives, for leading us in our flag salute this evening. Ms. Richardson, may we have a roll call, please?
Amanda Brown.
Present.
John Kennedy.
Present.
Steve Norberg.
Present.
Amy Phillips.
Present.
Steve Simmons.
Present.
Vicky Alvarez Molina.
Present.
Jessica Espinoza Chavez.
Present.
Noe Lima Ponce.
Present.
Aiden Mariscal.
Present.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. The next item on our agenda is our approval of our board meeting minutes from our regular board meeting on August 12th, 2025. I would entertain a motion.
Board President Brown, I move that we pass the regular board meeting and minutes from August 12th, 2025.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve our regular board meeting minutes from August 12th, 2025. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will approve this motion by voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Superintendent Whitney. Agenda review, please.
There are no additions or changes to tonight's agenda. The board did conduct an executive session under 4231.10.1G for review the performance of a public employee in litigation over immediately following the study session.
Thank you. We have two very special recognitions this evening. Ms. Tensmeyer is going to lead us in both of those, and I have worked with both of these people before, and I'm so excited to hear the amazing things that are going to be shared about them.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Brown, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. Tonight, we are proud to recognize Mrs. Jacqueline Brewster, Family and Consumer Sciences teacher, for being named the 2025 Graduation Reality and Dual Role Skills, also known as GRADS, Teacher of the Year by the Washington Association of Family and Consumer Sciences Educators. Each year, this prestigious award honors outstanding educators in the GRADS program who provide exceptional instruction, demonstrate innovation in career and technical education, and shows leadership in their schools and communities. Mrs. Brewster has made a tremendous impact at New Horizons High School, teaching a wide variety of family and consumer sciences courses, including GRADS, prenatal, early childhood education, clothing design, clothing construction, human development, and financial algebra. Starting this school year, she will bring her passion and expertise to Sageview High School, where she will teach human development, mental health, early childhood education, clothing design, and tech literacy. Her dedication to preparing students with real-world skills, her commitment to innovation in the classroom, and her leadership in the field of CTE exemplify the very best of PSD educators. Please join me in extending our heartfelt congratulations to Mrs. Jacqueline Brewster for this well-deserved honor. We are grateful for her service to our students and for inspiring them to grow, thrive, and achieve their goals. So Jackie, please come up and join us so we may present you. And this frame photo that I'm presenting her with will also be on our in the wall of distinction right here in the booth building. So I'm gonna have you come right up here. And I'll have you hold these. Actually, let's do it right in front of the logo. That'll be better. So congratulations. And then Jackie, if you wait, I'll get a picture of you after in a minute out in the hallway. Okay. Tonight, we also get to celebrate another one of my favorite people, Mrs. Laura Jones, Career and Technical Education Director, for being named the 2025 Washington Association for Career and Technical Education, also known as ACTE, Administrator of the Year by the Washington Association for Career and Technical Education. The statewide award recognizes outstanding administrative leadership in advancing innovative and effective career and technical education programs that support both teacher and student success. Mrs. Jones has embodied that vision throughout her remarkable career. Laura began her career in CTE in 1996 as a marketing teacher and DECA advisor at Pasco High School, where she brought her real-world industry experience and passion for preparing students for their futures. Through hands-on projects and community partnerships, she empowered students to develop leadership and employability skills that translated into meaningful career pathways. Over the years, Laura has taken on numerous leadership roles and has remained a driving force between CTE innovation and Pasco. In 2008, she was recognized as the Washington State Teacher of the Year, elevating her voice to advocate for CTE at the state level. As CTE Director, she continues to expand student opportunities, remove barriers, and strengthen collaboration among teachers, advisors, and business partners to ensure programs meet student needs and prepare them for success in both college and career. Her recognition as Washington Family and Consumer Sciences Administrator of the Year, CTE Administrator of the Year, demonstrates the deep respect she has earned from her colleagues across the state. Please join me in congratulating Mrs. Laura Jones on this incredible honor. Her leadership, advocacy, and dedication to students and educators exemplifies the very best of PSD. Come on up, Laura.
Thank you, Ms. Tensmeyer. I have had the opportunity to work with Jackie in both professionally as I have been to the State of the School reviews at New Horizons, seen the amazing work that she does with her students, teaching Saturday school, and just preparing students to enter the real world. And her teaching goes beyond the classroom. It absolutely affects graduation rates and just the student sense of belonging in the district. I have rarely seen a teacher that has so much heart and shares so much of herself with others. And Jackie and I also went through our leadership administration experience together at WSU. And again, she was an exemplar, just student there, and is an amazing leader. And I have, through my tenure on the board, been able to work with Laura. I went on a tour of Pasco High CTE programs, and I had so many questions, and she had answers for everything. Her knowledge around CTE is so profound. And so we are so lucky to have both of these amazing educators and leaders here with us in the district. And I can't think of any two women, any two other people that are more deserving of these awards. Anyone else from the board like to share anything?
I would. I have been able to work with Laura Jones for years and years. I am on the Team Pasco board, and she is also a member of that board, as it exemplifies the CTE programs that we have in Pasco and utilizes several of the CTE programs, as well as have been on some tours with Laura around the schools to familiarize us with our CTE programs. We have amazing CTE programs in this district. We are so very fortunate to have her with us and in the capacity that she is. She does an excellent job, and it has been a pleasure to watch her serve and to serve with her.
Very well-deserved awards. Congratulations. Our next item on the agenda is our time for audience comments. So where anyone who is in the boardroom or online is welcome to address the board. You do have a time limit of 2 minutes. Ms. Richardson has a contraption that will turn yellow at a minute, letting you know that your time is halfway up. And then when it is all the way up, we'll turn red and beep. And if you are still giving your comments at the time, I will ask you to please wrap them up. And if you are online, you will simply be muted. I want to remind you that we will also have time for public comment after our reports this evening, if there is anyone who'd like to comment specifically about something on our reports or give another comment. And also that we value your input, whether you be a staff member, community member, student, parents. The board does value hearing from the community. So with that being said, the time is now for the audience to, if you'd like to address the board. If there's someone already at the podium, feel free to form a line. And after we hear from those who would like to comment who are present in the boardroom, we will move to our online commenters. And please begin your remarks by stating your name and affiliation with the district.
Gotta get my old lady glasses on. Are we good? Good evening, Board President Brown, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. My name is Kathy Wright. Today I started my 36th year teaching special education at Mark Twain Elementary. I am here tonight to express my disappointment, frustration, and anger over the last-minute change in administrative staffing at my building. I've been at Mark Twain a long time, and in that time I have had around 10 principals and so many vice principals I literally cannot remember them all. Some of those administrative teams have been amazing, and others have been harmful. When Mr. Christensen came 3 years ago, our staff was divided and broken. The toxic positivity, blaming, and shaming had caused teachers to retreat and stop communicating. When Mr. C came that first year, he was able to start rebuilding some trust and community. When Mr. Vetta joined us 2 years ago, that process sped up. And in those 2 years, we have had what we refer to as the dream team at Mark Twain. I am unaware of any teacher sitting in their car crying in the parking lot before school because they didn't want to come in and face the ugliness, or crying at their desks during their lunchtime because they felt so defeated. Mr. C and Mr. Vera have worked hard together to rebuild our staff, our broken staff. Yesterday, 2 district admin came to our building at 1:30 in the afternoon to inform us that Mr. Vetta was being moved. This was less than 24 hours before the first day of students and less than 2 hours before we were expected to meet with our parents with a happy face for our back-to-school night. Several teachers were so upset they didn't feel that they could put on that happy face, and they went home. The 2 admin who were there to deliver this news, that we were losing a highly respected and valued member of our team, stood stoically without any attempt to show care, concern, empathy, or understanding. This apparent lack of feeling upset our staff further. There was a lot of talk throughout the remainder of the day yesterday about why Mark Twain? Why is it that Twain always gets dumped on or has things taken away? For those of us who've been around a while, that's how it feels. I'm pretty confident that nothing that is said tonight is going to change the decision that has been made, but I want you to know that you have broken trust with the staff at Mark Twain, and I don't know when or even if it can be repaired. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julia Call, and I'm a Bridges teacher at Mark Twain School. And today I was the teacher that was crying in my car, not wanting to go in for the first time that I've worked in education since I was 18 years old, and I'm 65 this year. First time ever after what happened to us yesterday. So yesterday, the day before school started, we were informed that a last-minute decision was made to move our Vice Principal Cesar Vera to Captain Gray and Robert Frost. We were told by Mira Goebel that the opening was very last minute, and Cesar had agreed to move schools. This disruption has caused that this has caused at Mark Twain goes very deep. Cesar became our VP after a very long 3 years with our previous admin. Our staff was broken and divided when he came to us just 2 years ago. There was zero trust, and many of us were wondering if we could even stay if things didn't change. During our first tier day, I knew that things had finally shifted when I saw people nodding their heads in agreement and saying, "This is exactly what we need." Eric and Cesar turned the most hardcore distrust of admin into a positive thing. They didn't make promises they couldn't keep. Cesar came in asking what he needed to do to help fix the problems we were all feeling. He listened and made changes that brought our staff together like never before. We finally had 2 strong admin who really cared about our staff, our kids, and our community. It was amazing to see Eric be able to breathe a sigh of relief knowing that he had a teammate working with him instead of against him. Watching Eric and Cesar lead our school community with such confidence and loyalty made all of our staff feel like we belonged. Knowing that you are more concerned with the other schools than the successes we were finally feeling here at Mark Twain hurts so bad. I feel betrayed, not by Cesar, but by you. I realize that if he didn't take this transfer, he might not get another chance. He did this because he's a father, a husband, and a loyal Pasco educator. There will be a void at our school for a long time because these 2 guys work together like clockwork. We know our building is hurting. I am hurting, and we were lied to yesterday. We know that Twain has a
Ms. Call,
reputation.
That's your time.
Okay, that's fine.
You are welcome to send your full comments to the board.
Don Wright, Chiona High School, 38 years teaching in Pasco. President Brown, Superintendent Whitney, board members, in a school, relationships are important. Attend any training, read any book on education, research ways in which teaching has changed in the past 40 years. One of the dominant themes is relationships. Relationships. Positive, nurturing relationships. Open, transparent relationships, teacher-student relationships make all the difference, they tell us. I'm not sure why anyone thought that was radical, but feeling supported and understood has always been conducive to success. Feeling like you can trust the people around you has always been essential. Think about your own relationships. Here in the Pasco School District, for many, the relationship is at least, or at best, neglectful. Teachers also need good relationships with building admin with district, etc. But the accounting mistakes in this building have caused classified staff jobs, or the dilemma to changing some other job that isn't what they applied for. Coaches in our district have discovered that money from their budget has been spent without any authorization to do so, and have, as a result, been told they were out of money and couldn't purchase necessary equipment. That was indifference or incompetence here, not in any school or with any coach. Teachers at Mark Twain, having a strong relationship with their admin, were told the day before school starts and an hour or 2 before back to school night that a major part of that strong relationship, an assistant principal, was reassigned. We are told we are important, cared for, appreciated. If you treated your spouse or friends the way the PSD treats the people they allegedly care for, I think you'd have few friends and an unhappy spouse. If you spent your adult child's money without asking, I think they'd be chaffed. If you had a trusted leader in your workplace moved out in a blink of an afternoon, I think you'd resent it. Communicate, ask questions, think of others, support, lead. Your actions speak so loud, your words have become meaningless. Thank you.
My name is Carter Duvall. This will be my senior year at Pasco High, where I've attended for the past 3 years. If you didn't know, the current Pasco High building was built in 1953. Tijuana was built in 2009, and Sageview and Orion are brand new this year. Pasco High this school year will also go from a student population of 64% low-income students to 86% low-income students. Sageview and Tijuana will be made up of 51 and 53% low-income students respectively. With these huge income disparities, you as school board members need to commit to supporting the learning environment of every student in your district. Waiting until January to repair the air conditioning at Pasco High when it has been an issue for years, is not supporting the learning environment of every student in your district. Fixing the air conditioning at Pasco High only in the 2 hallways you have a grant for is not supporting the learning environment of every student in your district. Drawing school boundaries that leave Pasco High with 33 percentage points more low income than any other high school in your district is not prioritizing the learning of every student in your district. Zoning students who live across from Pasco High to another school across the city while claiming these zones were decided by proximity is not supporting the learning of every student in your district. Pasco High is a community full of students and staff who deserve an equal quality building as much as anyone else in the district. I'm here today to ask you to fully assess all of the hallways and classrooms at Pasco High and make all the necessary repairs in a timely manner to provide a comfortable and equal learning environment for Pasco High students. By doing so, you can show that you are committed to ensuring a quality education environment for every child in this district, no matter what boundary their address falls into. I truly think that you all care about student success, but I think Pasco High has been deprioritized. Thank you.
Good evening, Board President Brown, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. My name is Amber Haynes, and I teach 2nd grade at Mark Twain Elementary. 2 short years ago, I sat in vice principal interviews and advocated for a strong, caring leader for Twain. In my 5 years there, we have already had 2 different principals and 2 different vice principals, and I entered Twain with new administration that year. As a building, we are hurting. Yesterday, just 2 hours before parents arrived for open house, Twain's certificated staff learned that the district had chosen to move our vice principal, Mr. Vera, and here we are, hurting again. Twain deserves stability. Our staff and families deserve a sense of belonging after years of turnover and uncertainty. Instead, our Mexican-American vice principal was taken from our building, valued for his language and leadership skills, as if his culture and presence and leadership did not matter deeply to our community. Twain was rebuilding, and this decision has shaken our foundation. We were told by district administration, without compassion, that the decision was final, not just for the year, but permanently. Our tears, our questions, our pleas, none of it mattered. Families were not even notified, leaving staff to explain his absence on the first day of school, as if his departure would not have a real and lasting impact, not to mention certificated staff were not notified if they were not in that meeting, which they were not. There were other options. We were told he agreed to the move, but we know he did not apply. It was never posted. Agreeing to follow a directive is not the same as wanting to leave. Had he chosen to pursue another role, we would have supported him wholeheartedly. But this district-level decision disregarded the trust, relationships, and progress that had only begun to take root at Twain. I am here tonight to say clearly, this decision has caused great harm to our school and our community. I urge you to consider the human impact of decisions like this and return Cesar to Twain. We are not numbers, we are people. Twain deserves better, and Twain wants Mr. Vera back.
Hi, my name is Asaka Erdman. I'm the Japanese teacher for PSD. The University of Washington and I have been prepared to offer UW college credit to our third-year Japanese students for over 3 years. This course would provide 5 UW credits valued at $2,234, completely free to students, fully covered by the state. It would also help satisfy the language requirement for bachelor's degree, which many colleges now require. Once Pasco School District approves this partnership, it will take 1 year to implement the program. This means that a yes from administrations right now is the only step needed to ensure our student can earn UW credit beginning next school year. If the decision is delayed, our current juniors will permanently lose this opportunity. For our current sophomores, the program would be postponed at least another year, forcing them into a 1 year gap between second-year Japanese and the UW in high school course, significantly reducing their chance to earn the college credit that they deserve. For me, this is my 28th year of teaching. and I will continue to serve for many more, but my students have only a short time left. 2 years for juniors, 3 years for sophomores. They cannot afford to wait another year for this decision. With my current student numbers, excluding seniors, next year, we would have 37 students at Chiwana, 29 students at Pasco, and 13 at Sageview enrolled in the UW Japanese class. This opportunity is going to be a greatest gift to my students as an educator. I'm ready. My students are ready. Parents are ready. And UW is ready for this partnership. All we need from PSD is a yes tonight. Thank you.
My name's Bear Turner. I'm a parent of the district. I'm going to pivot from what I was going to plan to say. But I'm going to piggyback on what the young lady said about Pasco High and discussions that Mr. Raul Sital and I have had in private. And it's basically that Pasco High is the flagship of the district. It is the school district that has the most history. It has the iconic stadium of Edgar Brown. And in mornings with Michelle, when she's had her staff there, I know myself and other parents have voiced concern about the condition of Pasco High, which probably led to some of the upgrades and things that they're getting now and the attention. But that's it. And the other thing I'll just piggyback on is the importance of good leadership and stability. And I honestly believe you have that with Michelle Whitney as a superintendent. I've watched how hard she works. I know how late she works. And what happened at the superintendent's evaluation was inexcusable. So I see that as not at the agenda, just so everybody's aware what happened in the last period when the superintendent's evaluation was not approved. If her evaluation is not approved, that terminates her employment. So I don't think people knew that. It's called out in the RCW. And then I'd also like to call out that all student testing data is publicly funded data and should be accessible to this board to evaluate students at all levels for all publicly funded tests. And it was thoroughly disturbing to see a elected official of a teachers union come here and try to block access to public data that was specifically called out in a superintendent's evaluation. That's it.
Good evening, Superintendent Whitney and Board. I just want to make sure that I'm Maria Lee, and I am the president of Pasco Association of Educators. And just to make sure that we're clear on this evaluation that was spoke about 2 weeks ago, I'm the only one that speaks for the association. So I'm not sure where this individual is getting his information from, but I was not at that particular board meeting. So whatever you heard or received was not information that was correct. Thank you.
Is there anyone else present in the boardroom who would like to offer public comment to the board? Mr. Garrett, do we have anyone online? Thank you. Again, there will be the opportunity to offer public comment after our reports this evening. We will continue on with the next item on our agenda, which is the consent agenda this evening that consists of personnel, warrants, approval of conditional certificates and permits, out-of-state student travel for PHS ASB leadership students to LASC Summit Leadership Conference in Hermiston, Oregon, out-of-state student travel for Sageview High School ASB leadership students to LASC Summit Leadership Conference in Hermiston, Oregon, out-of-state student travel for Chihuahua High School ASB leadership students to LASC Summit Leadership Conference in Hermiston, Oregon, Sageview High School project construction change order number 22, Orion High School project construction change order number 10, and approval of Carl Perkins grant application and assurances statements for the 25-26 school year. I would entertain a motion.
Board President Brown, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any board discussion? Ms. Richardson, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Barber?
Yes.
Mrs. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have our action items for the evening, which this evening are our district annual objectives. Superintendent Whitney will present that action item to the board and then ask for our action.
Board President Brown, members of the board, it's my pleasure to be in front of you this evening to talk again about the district annual objectives as required by policy 1630. I just want to provide a bit of a background. Part of the background will be a repeat or some redundancy, but I did want to be really clear and set the purpose before we get started. So tonight, my purpose is to present some new information that's been integrated into the annual objectives as influenced by two things. One, the board discussion on August 12th and a follow-up board meeting with Dr. Thomas Alsbury on the 20th of August, attended by Board President Brown, Board Director Phillips, myself, and Assistant Superintendent Sarah Thornton. I'd like to also offer the opportunity for board discussion or allow the board to have an opportunity to discuss, and then I will be requesting action around the annual objectives as required by District Policy 1630, which requires the board to approve these objectives by the first day of school, which is obviously today. So by background, the District Policy 1630 states that the superintendent would be evaluated based on these district annual objectives and core functions. And then again, that the annual objectives are identified before the evaluation cycle starts. So this really does cue the board to the beginning of evaluation cycle, not the end of an evaluation cycle. So my evaluation cycle for last year was completed as required by policy, as required by my contract on time by the end of June. So that was a period at the end of last year's evaluation cycle. This is a capital letter of the sentence starting this year's evaluation cycle. So historically, the board has worked through a process to identify these annual objectives in the spring and summer, and then the annual objectives are brought to the board. And then those objectives then frame the work of district staff and clearly myself as a superintendent. And we bring you information around the annual objectives and things like board progress monitoring reports, which are very comprehensive reports that provide a very in-depth look at data over time in the district's performance. Also, the state of the school reviews, which are another big data dive that are done by our principals and their leadership teams that outline student achievement data up against their school improvement planning goals. It also frames board reports and study sessions as requested by the board or as recommended by staff. That could be data presentations. They could also be program evaluation presentations. And then obviously the superintendent evaluation, which is completed, that it starts in August with the approval of the annual objectives, which we have to do tonight, and then it ends at the end of June when you complete that evaluation at the end, my final evaluation in June. So the targets identified by the board during the February study session were presented on the 12th. There was board discussion that raise the need for some clarity around the superintendent evaluation process. This is a new model that we're using. So Board President Brown, Director Phillips, myself, and Assistant Superintendent Thorne met with Dr. Alsbury on the 20th to clarify the process, and language was added to the information that was previously presented as follows. So I'll do my best to outline the information, but also point out where changes have been made. So there were targets identified by the board under our broad outrageous outcomes of reading, math, and on track for graduation. So this is our reading, mastery of reading. 100% of our third graders will read on grade level. So the information that was clarified is the goal here is to achieve significant improvement in the percentage of students who are reading on grade level in their language of instruction. And for our purposes, significant improvement is improvement outside the standard error. So any assessment tool has a statistical analysis where you identify the standard error of deviation. So we would be looking for an increase in the percentage beyond that standard error of deviation. So if you think about, polling data has kind of a plus or minus, this is in essence the same as that. So the two broad areas that district staff will be focusing on, or that the board has asked district staff and myself to focus on, are really around core instruction and intervention and acceleration. So under the area of core instruction, our focus has been to implement instruction aligned with state standards using our core curriculum materials, specifically focused on foundational skills in K2. So that looks like for us implementation of K5 ARC with Fidelity. Our teachers have been working really hard in implementing those new curriculum materials. And we are just now then implementing new ELA curriculum materials, or English Language Arts curriculum materials, in grades 6 through 10. The measurements that we'll be using are the K5 Erlin and Neal data for students, for all students and by cohort, K8 STAR on level and growth, and then comparison, again, of students receiving preschool. In terms of acceleration and intervention, the work calls out the need for us to identify an early and accelerated learning through targeted intervention. And this really has to do with us standardizing and implementing MTSS with Fidelity district-wide. That particular sentence is a direct quote from the recommendations that you made to me at the end of my 24-25 evaluation cycle. Your recommendation was for our work as staff to continue to be on standardizing the implementation of MTSS with Fidelity, and we're doing that through clearly articulating our multi-tiered system of support framework in partnership with UW Smart Center under a project called the Last Mile Project. And then we'll also be offering professional development to staff focused on the appropriate use of data for progress monitoring. Again, the measurements would be the early and Neal STAR, and then K8 STAR student growth percentiles at 64 or above, which is what indicates more than a year's growth. And again, I explained when we were together last time, it's important for us when we're talking about acceleration and intervention to be looking at growth beyond a year, because these are students where we're trying to close the achievement gap. So they have to make more than a year's growth in order to be able to close that gap. You'll notice under algebra completion, 100% of our students will will pass algebra by the end of 9th grade. The goal again is that achieve significant improvement in the percentage of students who are passing algebra by the end of 9th grade. Same definition of significant improvement. You'll also see that the targets are very similar. Again, our focus is around high quality core instruction that is delivering state standards using materials and frameworks. So we will be implementing new mathematics curriculum materials in grades 6 through 8, algebra 1 through 4, and geometry. And again, our focus is implementation with Fidelity. And we'll be using measures like the K8 STAR on level and growth, and then comparison again of students using preschool. And then the second target is again around that multi-tier systems of support that allows us or requires us to provide timely intervention and acceleration to students. And it again just calls out our work around the multi-tiered system of support and partnership with the UW Smart Center and the Last Mile Project and professional development around data usage. Again, the K-8 STAR for students moving out of what's called urgent intervention. We want to see more students moving out of urgent intervention, which means, again, that we're accelerating learning and closing the achievement gap. And that K-8 STAR growth percentile at 64 or above, which is that more than a year's growth. The last target that was selected, or the targets that were selected, were under our success in high school, which is 100% of our students will end the school year on track for graduation their 9th grade year. The goal is to achieve significant improvement in the percentage of students who end 9th grade on track. Again, same definition of significant improvement. Again, we're focusing on core instruction and intervention. This is slightly different and calls out specifically not only the implementation of core curriculum materials with fidelity in ELA and mathematics, but developing or clearly articulating a roadmap for the new curriculum materials, which is a tool that helps support teachers in implementing curriculum materials. Again, we'll be using STAR on level and growth and comparison of students receiving preschool and the number of credits earned per grading term through the end of the 9th grade year. When we look at the multi-tiered system of support work or the acceleration and intervention work, this one specifically calls out the need for an early warning system and interventions to help students get on track and stay on track. So our work will really focus on doing a systems level proactive data analysis and identifying incoming 9th graders by looking at how students were, what were the student passage behaviors in grades 6, 7, and 8, specifically in 8th grade. So if you look at a student's track record, not always, but there could be a predictor that if I have, as an 8th grader, failed some classes, that I might need some intervention before I fail a class in 9th grade. And so certainly we're not defining a student's future by past success, but we're anticipating that it would be good for us to take a look and make sure that they have good habits coming into 9th grade and get in front of it before they fail a class versus being reactive after they fail a class. So this is really about us getting intentional about looking at middle school data as a predictor for those students who may need some support as they come into 9th grade. And then a number of, this is the first day of school, so it would have been in the spring at the end of last year, you had a study session presentation on Ignite for Unite, the 4 A's, academics, athletics, activities, and arts. And so the plan is to leverage that work specifically around the academic component of those 4 A's and get really focused on that in trimester 1 for 9th graders. Again, so that we're being proactive, we're identifying students who have exhibited behaviors of failing classes prior to high school and then getting really focused in Tri 1 around academics so that we're building those success behaviors and passing classes before students fail. So for the measurement, we would be using on track for graduation correlation using our local data, which I explained last time we were together. We're really excited about that level of data analysis as a predictor of how our students will perform. So I'm happy to answer any questions, clarify anything, and then open it up for board discussion. Board President Brown, I would let you know there is a suggested motion there just to support the board's governance. But again, I'm here to support the board in whatever way is meaningful to you.
Superintendent Whitney, I'm wondering, since we've heard public comment this evening about this action item, if the law can be clarified, and I'd be okay with Assistant Superintendent Thornton coming to, since she is our legal counsel for the district, if she would clarify that.
I'm happy to defer to Assistant Superintendent Thornton.
That would be wonderful, thank you.
How can I help?
So can you explain about how this superintendent evaluation process falls with underneath the umbrellas of the law, the policy, and the superintendent contract?
Sure. The RCW that covers certificated employee evaluation had it written down, 28A 405 100, and it has a number of subsections underneath it. There is one section in that RCW that specifically references the board's obligation to provide criteria to evaluate the superintendent and provide criteria and a process for the superintendent evaluation. The board does that through its board policy, which lays out the areas for which the superintendent will be evaluated, and the deadline by which the board has to implement or decide on what those criteria will be for the year. And it's kind of a two-part evaluation. One is the operations of the district, and that's identified in the policy. And then the other are the annual district objectives that Superintendent Whitney was just speaking to. So the RCW provides that broad umbrella. The board then defines the process and the criteria and the timeline by which those criteria have to be identified for an evaluation cycle in that policy. And then the superintendent contract then lays out the timeline by which the board has to complete the superintendent evaluation, and that is July 30th. The superintendent contract also delineates sort of in parallel with board policy what that evaluation will look like. So the assertion that the superintendent would be terminated if the evaluation criteria were not approved, that's not correct. If the board did not approve the evaluation criteria at tonight's board meeting, because it is the first day of school, you would be in technical violation of your own policy. It is a policy violation that would be fixable or curable if the board were to, say, approve them at the next meeting or somewhere very early in the evaluation cycle. Best case scenario, the board reaches a conclusion tonight and stays in compliance with board policy. There's language in that RCW, because remember, it's extensive, that does speak to the potential repercussions for a certificated evaluator who does not complete their evaluations of other staff, and that would be cause for that evaluator to be terminated off of their contract. And that's not the situation you are in as a board of directors. Does that explanation make sense?
You're saying you can't fire us?
We cannot fire you under that RCW.
Okay.
She did.
Thank you so much for that explanation.
You bet. You're welcome.
Okay, so board discussion around the changes that have been made to the annual objectives for the superintendent evaluation. And those are in the text that's in the goal, and then the parentheses, which in every goal, which then define what significant improvement means.
Superintendent Whitney, I'm just curious, do you know what a typical standard error is for some of these criteria?
So it's a great question. They are different for different assessments, and I have to be honest, I did not look them up for the assessments here tonight, but certainly before I start presenting on our data, we would have clarity around those for you.
So I don't know that it's a standard of error, but I was at my own staff rally, and all staff rally as the day before school starts in Kennewick School District today, where we're giving away awards for progress, academic progress in different schools, and the goals in Kennewick School District were growth of 3%. I'm not saying that those have to be our goals, but that was what was being recognized today in Kennewick School District. So that tells me that 3% is beyond the standard of error, because otherwise we wouldn't be recognizing, in my opinion, Kennewick School District would not recognize growth if it was not beyond a standard of error.
I would say in my experience as an education professional that it's typically between 1% and 3%, but I did not look them up for the assessments that I raised today, but that has been my experience, that it's between 1% and 3% typically.
Does the Superintendent Whitting, does the standard error fluctuate year in, year out?
Not typically. It can fluctuate by tools, but it's like for example, the STAR tools standard error of deviation is typically the same, but another tool standard area of deviation would be different. But they don't typically fluctuate annually in the same tool.
And then as part of when we receive the data reports, would part of the report be, this is a standard of error for this assessment?
Absolutely.
So we would know.
Absolutely.
Since it does vary.
Okay, it would be nice to have something closer to something like 3%. A lot of our schools have a 10% goal, and some have been able to reach that. Some have not, and 10% is quite a bit. But from what I understand too, and what we encouraged in the superintendent evaluation, is that a longer-term goal. And I had a lot more faith in the superintendent evaluation, knowing that we are looking at doing some updating to our outrageous outcomes because of our board policy. We do the goals around the outrageous outcomes. So I really appreciated that Superintendent Whitney put some goals on here. Significant growth in each of these areas, which I think is important. There's also more details under each of the areas that shows the specific things that we are doing in each of the areas. It made it much more personal to our school district. And I really appreciated her willingness to do one of the requests the board had in making either a 3 or a 5-year goal, and doing that in line with a refresh of the outrageous outcomes. Between that, I feel like we can, I can support this superintendent evaluation. I do want to see significant, and to me, significant means more than 1%. I hope that's not the goal that we're actually going for. I think I hope we can see that and have our teachers and our districts and our specialists really be able to work toward some of those goals as we try to increase our student rates, so our kids are performing at the level that they are capable of performing at.
Any other questions or comments about the revised goals?
Yeah, to me, hopefully it's not 1%. I'd like to be more in the neighborhood of 3% or even more, to try to make sure that we're making enough progress, that we're getting out of the area that we're in right now. And the sooner the better, but I realize that there's only so much we can do.
So you said that it's different based on different tool, is what you're saying. So, I mean, I guess you couldn't say specifically 3% because it depends on what you're using, what tool you're using to rate that. So I don't know what Kennewick's doing. Is that just an overall?
That was just for awards today, that I was using an example that, if we just were to say something like to use like very specific numbers and to have really broad goals. I just wanted to give an example of, that significant improvement in other districts is like right in line with what we have here on our goals.
So I guess the other question I have too is, so 1% is not weighted the same as 3% depending on the tool. So 1% could be significant improvement based on the tool you're using, based on the situation the tool's rating. So it's really dependent on what the progress report that was being presented to us and the data that's being evaluated. So I mean, okay.
Superintendent Whitney, though, bottom line is you feel that demonstrating improvement outside the standard error is a realistic goal for us to achieve.
Yes.
When will we, and was it January or February that we will get those more longer-term goals?
So I have a next step slide after the approval, and I can go over that in more detail, but are you talking about as part of the district strategic improvement planning refresh?
Yes.
So I actually have it, a study session tentatively scheduled as, for our next board meeting, so we could start talking about what that refresh process looks like as soon as next board meeting study session. So we could have it done, in a timeline that meets the board's request, that's reasonable for staff in terms of workload, but we can start talking about that immediately at the next board meeting.
Great. If we do that, and we are really encouraging, I think some schools are going to need to, there's, sorry, my mind is all over the place, but I'm excited for that refresh. I think it's going to be a really good direction for our school, and I think that there's going to be room for greater growth and greater goals in some areas of the district and lesser goals in others. And I think we need to keep that in mind because 1 to 3% simply isn't enough in some areas of the school district, and it is sufficient in others. So trying to hit a target sometimes is a little bit difficult, but I think it's possible. And with the awards and the growth that we've seen in the district in the last 2 years, I think it's really promising. I'm hoping to see some of those increases with the professionals that we've had in for mathematics as our mathematics scores. And honestly, you have to take into account the mathematics scores at the state level look pretty dismal too. They just don't match up to the reading scores. So our mathematics scores did take a hit this year, but they did at a state level. And I haven't even looked at a national level, which may have happened as well. But I think that we can make some real improvements there, especially in mathematics this year. And I think that strategic plan will really help us to get there, especially with those longer-term goals.
Board President Brown, I want to make a motion that we approve the annual objectives as required by District Policy 1630, evaluation of the superintendent as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the annual objectives as required by District Policy 1630, evaluation of superintendent as presented. Is there discussion? Ms. Richardson, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Aye.
Dr. Marva?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Superintendent Whitney. You have some more slides to go over.
I just have two, I promise. So I did want to outline for the board next steps because I know that there's deep interest in continuing to have conversation around achievement data for our district. So in addition to the annual objectives that you just approved, you were very specific and targeted in recommendations that you made in my 24-25 superintendent evaluation. Those areas will be addressed in upcoming board reports, study sessions, and communications between district staff and the board. And I named some of those specific reports, like the board progress monitoring reports, the state of the school reviews, etc. These 6 bulleted items are directly quoted from the recommendations section in the 24-25 superintendent evaluation that you completed by June 30th is the deadline, not July 30th, June 30th. You recommended that we develop program and procedural revisions that will continue to increase percentage of third graders on grade level in their language of instruction, who are reading on grade level in their language instruction, who are passing algebra by the end of 9th grade. You recommended to develop program and procedural revisions to continue to improve targeted instructional interventions, and I talked about that under the umbrella of multi-tiered systems of support. You also talked about ensuring MTSS intervention techniques are standardized and implemented at the same level of rigor district-wide and implementing successful practices district-wide, and continuing to focus on the work of collective teacher efficacy to increase student achievement in Pasco School District high schools. In addition, the recommendation that you've referenced around the 3 to 5 year growth goals, this is the bullet there is quoted from the evaluation document, set a 3 to 5 year growth goal that states what will attain a certain level of proficiency and then create a goal for that year that will attain that long-term goal. That will be addressed as part of the district strategic improvement planning refresh process, as I've talked about already. And we can, with board officer approval, start talking about that as early as the study session, what that process will look like as early as the study session at our next meeting. Again, as I will be providing board reports or study sessions, asking direction from the district about that process, like I said, as early as the next board meeting. So with that, I just wanted to close this action item with some next steps. So as a board, you could anticipate what follow-up from district staff and myself will look like in terms of your recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our action items for this evening, and we have no extended study or discussion items. So we will move forward with our reports, the first of which this evening is from Assistant Superintendent Carla Lobos, who will be addressing and reporting on federal funding impacts. Ms. Lobos.
I'll wait for Superintendent Whitney to reach the podium, and that doesn't mean you need to hurry. Board President Brown, Superintendent Whitney, it's my pleasure to be with you this evening. I'm going to be providing for you an overview of our federal funding impacts. During this presentation, my purpose will be to provide an overview of how federal funds impact the district's financial condition. I'll be reviewing our preliminary allocations for this school year with an overview of what each funding source provides and anticipated federal impacts for the upcoming school year. While this presentation will provide an overview of all these funds, I will not be providing an in-depth analysis of how anticipated reductions will impact our programs this following school year. Our federal funds are made up of Title I Part A, which is commonly known as Title I School-Wide for all our schools, Title I Part C, also known or referred to as Migrant Program, Title II, Title III, also similar to state bilingual or federal bilingual dollars, and Title IV. All of these funds come from the federal government or are allocated to the state of Washington, which subsequently allocates these funds to districts based on district data, enrollment, and demographic information. The first is Title I Part A. All Title I schools within a district must be ranked in order of poverty percentiles, and allocations are assigned in order of their ranking based off need. So essentially, and every single one of our Pasco schools is a Title I school. So those schools are ranked in order of need, and then the allocations are given to those schools appropriately based on that need. This aligns with the laws and funding data summary guidelines from the federal government. Schools with 40% or more in poverty percentiles qualify for school-wide Title I status. These funds are used to supplement educational opportunities for all our students. These opportunities include both student activities and supports, as well as paying for additional staff who support student learning or intervention. Title I Part C, again commonly referred to as our migrant program. Only students and families who qualify as migrant can receive these services and supports from Title I Part C. Students qualify through recruiting and qualifying criteria outlined by federal guidelines. Again, these funds support a myriad of activities for student supports to staff that provide academic and social emotional learning services for our migrant youth.
Ms. Lobos, if I can interject for a moment. We're receiving this report because we have received advice from OSPI that it is very likely that these funds will be pulled next year.
Yes, I'm going to get to that slide a little bit later in the presentation.
I know we receive a lot of reports that are informational and they're very informative to the public, but I just want to really bring attention to the fact that this is really important because this is funds, like millions of dollars that OSPI is telling us we're not going to have next year. I'm sorry to bring the climax of your report before it got there, but I think it's really important to preface it like that. Learning about this is so important to see these are the services that OSPI is telling us we'll be losing.
Yes, that is correct. So I'm going to review with you all the various federal funding that the district receives, just an overview of what those funds are, the supports that they provide, and then I will review with you the information we've received thus far from the state of Washington via the Department of Education regarding potential impacts. So I think we left off at Title II, Part A, and Title II supports professional development in school districts. These funds are assigned to school districts in order to improve the quality of teaching and learning in the schools. These funds have been used to support staff who provide job-embedded professional development for all our teachers, training and PD for literacy and mathematics to all our staff, support for new teachers, and professional learning for our instructional coaches. Title III, Part A, supports students who qualify as multilingual learners with systems of support that target English language development. Now, as a reminder, similar to state bilingual funds, however, these are federal, parents who indicate that there is another language spoken in the home on the registration prompt additional questions on that registration and subsequently the WIDA assessment. Students qualify using this assessment and services are accessed through both federal Title III or state bilingual dollars. Title III supports one district tier day for teachers with a focus on English language development. And the bulk of those funds, if not all, support one tier day. Title IV, Part A, the goal of this title is to improve students' academic achievement by improving their access to a well-rounded education. Title IV supplements the educational experience for students to improve their overall academic achievement while focusing on technology and digital literacy. In Pasco, Title IV supports our STEM initiatives in our schools, robotics, social and emotional learning, STEM professional development, and clock hours that all teachers and administrators need to renew their certificates. And the last of these is the Title IV Stronger Connections Grant. This is a 3-year grant, and we are in our 3rd and final year of this award. It funds social and emotional supports that include mental health services, targets absenteeism, and other things such as our contract with the University of Washington Smart Center, and professional development for staff around the areas of creating a safe, supportive, and healthy learning environments for students. So you probably notice a theme that all of the dollars that come from the federal government have a title in front of it, and that's an easy way to know the difference between state and federal funding. So in review, Title I, Part A, Title I, Part C, Title II, Title III, and Title IV have a significant impact on district staff and students. We've been notified by the U.S. Department of Education through OSPI to only plan on continued funding for Title I, Part A. Therefore, the programs listed on this slide will receive significant cuts or elimination altogether. The anticipated impacts to our district is close to $4 million of revenue and services that our students currently receive. Due to the anticipated funding cuts, our next steps will be to plan proactively on budgeting these changes while prioritizing student-centered services the most possible. As we learn more from the Department of Education via OSPI on these revenue streams, we will provide timely updates to the board on those impacts. Any questions?
So how did they communicate this to you? In a letter? Did we receive that as a board?
So the state, how did the state communicate that with the district?
Yeah.
So actually, OSPI has been very forthcoming as they have received information from the U.S. Department of Education. They've actually been able to turn that around fairly quickly, if not between 24 and 48 hours, notifying districts of the funding decisions. So it comes directly from the state superintendent, Chris Reichdahl, to the districts.
So are all states receiving these cuts?
That is my understanding, yes.
Ms. Lobos, did Superintendent Reichdahl indicate whether OSPI will request the legislature to supplement these lost funds in the next session of legislature for this biennium?
In the meetings that he has held thus far, he said that was highly unlikely, and to plan on anticipating of not receiving this funding or the state subsequently funding the amounts at the federal government. The state does not have the capacity to fund what the federal government has been funding.
I know it's not much, but we have such a high population of, this is not what's not much, so I'm gonna get to that, what's not much in a second, but we have such a high migrant population here and such a high percentage of English language learners, multilingual learners here in Pasco. If we as a board decided to send in a resolution or a letter to the federal government, like I said, it's not much, but could we do something as a board to say this is highly impacting our students, that this is going to impact student learning? These dollars are absolutely critical for our student achievement. Would that be something that we could, if as a board we were in consensus to do? It might be a question for Superintendent.
I would defer to our superintendent.
Yes, that is something you can do. I think it also aligns with the legislative platforms for your professional organization, my professional organization. I know I was in Washington, D.C. for 4 days in July as part of the national delegation of the Washington Association of School Administrators advocating the same. So I think it aligns with legislative platforms and a procedure that you as a board have access to.
I personally don't want to sit idly by as we lose millions of dollars for our most marginalized and needy students.
And I would like to point out, only because it is a common misconception, for example, a federal Title III funding specifically for multilingual learners. I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the community around what those dollars do support. Title III of federal dollars that are allocated to the districts are specifically targeting English language development. That means that the goal is for students who are not English proficient to be proficient in English, and that is the target of those funds. So it supports teachers and educators in understanding how to help students who may come and don't have a strong acquisition or grasp on English to be English proficient. So English is the goal of those funds.
So I have two quick questions. One, so this is not going to affect this year. It would be the following school year.
Correct.
So I just want to clarify that. And you would describe this situation as probably fluid. So this, like what we're talking about now, could change between now and the next, or how, sometimes things from OSPI tend to get politicized a little bit, and I just want to make sure that they're not just saying something that this is how it is now, when we know the situation could change between now and then. I don't know if you can answer that, if you know that. And then, is this also something that, if it did happen, that even levy dollars could, if we had to, could make up for this, even though that's a considerable amount of money?
At least what I can tell you with regards to the information we've received from the state, the information the state has received is the information that has been disseminated among all 50 states. And so that is fairly common knowledge, just the same as the release of the funds late in July. That happened nationally. So at least that information has come out in all of the states. It isn't just Washington State. Certainly, the interpretation of what states can do, or if they can, is up to each state of what they can do to maybe supplement the loss of those funds. But what Chris Reichtel has told us in the meetings is that our state likely is not in a financial position to be able to supplement the funds for Washington.
In terms of levy funds, it's a possibility that levy funds can be used to enhance what the state doesn't fund. I just want to remind our board that we're considering 3 different levy levels, none of which really maintain the programs we have. I think there's one that the board felt like was too far outside the reach of the community that would maintain what we have. But in both of the approaches that we're looking at having to still adjust. And so while conceptually it's possible, pragmatically for us, and from what the board said at our last levy planning session, I'm not sure that pragmatically it's a possibility for us just based on the financial conditions of our community.
Any further discussion or questions for Ms. Lobos concerning our federal funding report?
I would just say, Board President Brown, I support your proposal to submit a letter to Congressman Newhouse to strongly advocate for these funds. I think it's clear that both the state legislature and our community cannot fill in these gaps that the federal government is choosing to create, and the harm to our students would be severe. And I think at the very least, this board could submit a letter advocating strongly for Congressman Newhouse to fight aggressively to restore these proposed cuts for the 2026-2027 academic year.
Board President Brown, I am curious, do you know if students are, any positions that students could take for students of Pasco School District to reach out to legislature or any kind of reaching out that the students are capable of doing in order to voice their opinions on this and see what they can have looked into? Do you know anything about that, or?
I do. And although you are under 18 and not voting age, you are still constituents of our local, state, and federal government, and I would hope that every elected official values the voice of its youth. And so I would say you have as much, if not more, power than our adult voices to speak for the youth. And so, yes, and if you would like to find out if you need information on how to reach out to your locally, state, or federal elected officials, there are this room is full of people who can help you with that.
Maybe something the Superintendent Council could work on as well. I think it's a great idea, and I'd be happy to support a letter like that as well. So I think that's 3.
Board Director Phillips, I appreciate that. I was just going to make that comment that the 4 of you are in charge of building the agenda for the first Superintendent Student Action Council meeting, which I believe is the 26th of September. So this would be a phenomenal topic. I also wanted to remind the board that one of your board priorities was to have visitation of legislatures and Congress people into the district. So this could be a really powerful partnership between that, the Student Action Council, and letter writing campaign. So if the 4 of you want this on the agenda for the first Superintendent Student Action Council, when we do our planning meeting, you just have to let us know, and then you would formally request that Ms. Lobos come and present the same information to the council, and then build consensus around an approach of advocacy with that group. And there's, 40 high school students that come to that meeting, and so I appreciate Director Brown or Director Phillips bringing that up, and I'll leave that to you to bring it up when we meet, if that's the direction you want to take.
And I'll just clarify that not just Congressman Newhouse, but Congressman Baumgarten and our 2 senators. So the Pasco School District is in 2 congressional districts, so there is a delegation of 4 congressional representatives that we should appeal to.
Do any other of the student board representatives want to comment on this report?
I just wanted to have a copy of whatever sent to you guys about this issue so that I can speak from it. whenever I talk to somebody, I want to have the closest to the original information so that I can talk intelligently. So I don't know that I've seen that in my emails yet. So please email that out to us.
I'd be more than happy to.
I do want to say that I think it is important for students and staff at schools to be aware of this information that's on here. As my part, I do want to make sure that students at Chihuahua are aware of this. So what I'll be doing is that I'll be like kind of reflecting what I've learned from here and going on and sharing that information to students. I'm not sure if other student board ups are doing the same, but yeah, I do support the making the letter. So I do think that it's a great idea, and I'll be making sure to inform students at Chihuahua of the same.
Thank you. Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Lobos. Our last report of this evening is around policy. Assistant Superintendent Thornton will be reviewing some changes, some revisions to be compliant with the law for the policies that are listed on the agenda. And so she will go over those revisions now.
Thank you, Board President Brown. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Whitney. Bear with me just a second. I'll come down to these policies. There we are. The policies that I'm presenting this evening, there are several of which are brought to you by legislation coming out of the 2025 legislative session. The first, however, that I'd like to speak to is, is not coming out of the legislative session, and that is the anaphylaxis prevention policy. This is policy 3420, and this policy is being revised to be consistent with a State Department of Health standing order that applies to all school districts across the state that allows districts to stock epinephrine in schools without individual prescriptions. So epinephrine is EpiPens or epinephrine nasal spray in case someone has an allergic reaction and has anaphylaxis. And in case there is an individual who has an undiagnosed condition and has anaphylaxis or an allergic reaction, the change to, or the standing order allows districts to stock this in schools, and so the change to the policy would allow us to do the same. And so that is recommended for board approval. The remaining policies that are before you for first reading, and pardon me while I scroll back up, are coming out of, like I said, the 2025 legislative session, specifically ESHB 1296, which was a very comprehensive bill that touched a lot of different aspects of school district operations. Policy 1114, oath of office, the law added language requiring adherence to the laws of the state of Washington to the oath that board members take when they are sworn in. In addition to that change, we are also updating the policy to be consistent with state law as far as who can administer the oath of office and to whom. Policy 1310 is policy adoption. This policy is being revised to be both consistent with WASDA model policies and also to be consistent with ESHB 1296, which requires school district policies to prioritize the protection of student safety, access to education programs free from discrimination, and to protect student privacy to the extent possible. And then finally, ESHB 1296 also updates the protected classes that are recognized under state law for to be free from discrimination in schools. And so our policies, several policies that reference these protected classes are being updated accordingly, and that is 3210, 5010, and 4330. The protected classes or protected status changes include ethnicity, homelessness, immigration or citizenship status, and neurodivergence. And so any district policy or procedure that references non-discrimination would be updated accordingly, according to state law. There are other changes that will be required by ESHB 1296. I'll be bringing those to the board at various meetings this fall, but these are the first group that we're bringing to you for revision, and we would have these on the consent agenda on September 9th.
And does, with the policy changes to the oath of office, it doesn't have any effect. Our oath of office will still continue with, as it has been with Superintendent Whitney administering the oath of office to elected and appointed officials, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then the anaphylaxis policy, are those EpiPens or nasal sprays? How are those procured if they're not by prescription for a specific student?
They're procured by our school nurses, and specifically Billy Wensveen, who is the manager of our health services and is a registered nurse, coordinates and oversees the procurement.
This might be getting a little specific, but I'm just curious, how are we obtaining them without a prescription?
Because of the DOH standing order. That's what it
So the law allows it?
allows it,
Okay.
correct. It has the effect of being a prescription.
Okay, understood. Any other questions or comments around these policies?
For the Board of Directors, oath of office, did you say that was updated because of a law that was passed or a bill that was passed this past legislative session?
Correct. So the language that has been included in your oath up until now is you're taking an oath or an affirmation to support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Washington. In future swearing-ins, that oath will also include "and the laws of the state of Washington."
Hey, another question I had too, oh man, let me go quiet. If someone else has a comment, I can come back.
Any other comments? Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Thornton, for that report. And those will be on our consent agenda at our next board meeting for approval. That concludes our action items and reports for this evening. If anyone present in the boardroom or online would like to offer public comments about action items or reports, this is another time for public comment. I don't want to say expectations, but everything is the same from the public comment during audience comments. You have 2 minutes, and upon completion of those 2 minutes, I will ask you to conclude your remarks. And if there's more than one commenter, feel free to line up at the podium or just come up when the previous person concludes their comments. We'll start with those who are present in the boardroom. So you may go ahead and begin your public comments. Please begin by stating your name and affiliation with the district, even though you might have commented before.
Good evening. My name's Bear Turner, and I'm a parent. And you gotta love the law, 'cause nowhere else can there be a line of 12 words, and you can watch lawyers argue about it for years. But we got AI now, so I asked a question, and it said, if the superintendent's contract is not renewed in Washington State, can that lead to their termination? Their answer, yes. In Washington State, if a school superintendent's contract is not renewed, and effectively leads to the termination of their employment with the district at the end of the current contract term. However, it does provide various caveats that it basically does mean that this means the board can choose not to renew without needing to establish probable cause. So basically, by intentionally botching a superintendent's evaluation, it is a way to terminate the superintendent. The board can without probable cause. So I'm sorry I didn't make that clear early on. So the next point I'd like to make out is the comment was made by the lady that's in charge of the teachers union, and she wanted to know about a waiver request that Amber Haynes sent. So that is on the YouTube video for the August 12th board meeting, and it's a little after the 9-minute mark, so you could go listen to that. So I honestly wondered if the superintendent's evaluation was done in good faith. I mean, you guys worked with the doctor for, what, 6 months, February? And nothing happened, and then it was this oddly peculiar that a final product was produced, a very well done final product was produced in a matter of days, but yet nothing could be produced in 6 months. So I do not believe that people that led that effort worked in good faith. That's it. Oh, and that means they wasted the Pasco School District's money on that consultant during that time period.
Is there anyone else present in the boardroom who would like to offer public comment to the board? Anyone online, Mr. Garrett? Thank you. We will continue on with future agenda items. Superintendent Whitney.
So as I alluded to during my presentation, the study session for our next meeting could be focused on the district strategic improvement plan. It's also set aside for levy planning, should the board have wanted to use it for that. So I'll finalize that with board officers. So the study session will be one or the other. It sounds like from tonight's discussion, there's a deep interest in the district strategic plan being a study session. So again, I'll confirm that with board officers when we meet next week for agenda setting. We will also do our traditional and annual school startup report. That's happens the meeting immediately following the first day of school. And then based on tonight's study session, I think there's been clear direction given to staff where we can start to narrow down the focus and move the long-term facilities management plan closer to approval.
Do any board members or student board representatives want to propose future agenda items?
I want to put my 2 cents in for the district annual objectives for the next one. That's what I would like to see.
The district strategic improvement plan?
Thank you. That's what I meant.
Which is already on the agenda, right?
Well, it's either that one or the levy, and I was just putting my vote in for the district, whatever. Yes. Late.
So around future agenda items with what we were discussing during the federal funding report, could I request that we have, I don't know that it would be a report, but if we have board consensus, I would like to bring a proposed letter to the board and then have the board review it. And I am willing to draft it or work with one other board member to draft it and then bring it to the board. If we have board consensus around composing a letter to our elected officials. And also, I'd like to plan a study session where we start that formal process to invite our elected officials and set a date and send out invites. If we can begin, I guess we need board consensus in order to begin that process.
We can put it on the agenda as a report, and that's what we'll get the consensus.
we don't need it, because I'm proposing it, but don't we need consensus, two other board members to put it on the agenda?
This is my recommendation, but I'm looking at Sarah because she's the attorney. But my recommendation would be for you to request it as a report in your next meeting, and you can get a report, get your consensus from your board, and then move forward from there, versus getting consensus during communications tonight. That would be my recommendation. I think procedurally, you could probably do it both ways. I think it's cleaner to put it on the agenda as a report. The public will know that you're talking about it. You then can be very transparent. You could give the report, ask for consensus of your board, and then that way it was on the agenda, the public knows you're going to talk about it, there's plenty of advance notice, and then you would get direction, and then we can move forward with the plan.
Okay, so I need to ask for consensus from the board for a report on, can you help me?
Yeah, so normally what you've done is during this time when you're requesting future agenda items, you've asked, are there at least 3 members on the board who would like a report around federal legislative advocacy? So if you have 3 board members who would like that report, then it would end up on the agenda.
I think we already did that, didn't we?
We didn't ask for formal consent. So are there 2 other board members who would give consent to a report around legislative advocacy around federal funding?
I would support that.
Yeah, I would support that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And I believe, Dr. Norberg, you were elected recently as a legislative representative, so it would make a lot of sense for the 2 of you to work together on that, and staff would be happy to help support.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your help in navigating that. Okay. Next, we have communications. As always, we will start with Dr. Norberg.
You know, sometimes we have to celebrate our successes. And you think about it, just here recently, we have opened 2 new high schools. And I think that we've got to really come back and celebrate that and say that's quite an accomplishment for a district our size to open 2 high schools, especially in the same week. And I just want to commend everybody that was a part of that. And pretty much everybody, but I just think that you know, we had great open houses. I want to thank everybody that was there with me there. You know, virtually everybody was there, and I just think that the community really showed up for it. I want to thank the community for showing up. That was, like they said, that was some of the largest open house or ribbon cuttings that they'd ever seen. From the Chamber of Commerce in Pasco. So, and it was a huge crowd at both Orion and Sageview. And so I think that you know, sometimes we're going through some more challenging times and big decisions, but there are times that we just need to celebrate and go Pasco School District, you know. We're accomplishing things. We're moving through things. And I think it's important that they have the openness to be able to say, well, this is what I think, and that's what, you know, so that we can talk honestly, openly and honestly. We may not always agree on everything, but that we can move through things in a professional manner. And I think for the most part, we've done really well with that, even though we have some different opinions. So I just want to say congratulations, and I also want to say congratulations to Jacqueline Brewster for the 2025 Grads Teacher of the Year, and Laura James for the 2025 Washington Association CT Administrator of the Year. And it's really nice that we can, it seems like every meeting we have some big awards that are being handed out. And I just want to say congratulations for that, and keep up the good work. We're proud of you.
It has been a really busy couple of weeks, and I'm going to try to keep my comments brief, but I do want to express my gratitude to the community for supporting the bond that did open these 2 new schools. It's huge that we approved that the very first time we went out for these 2 high schools. Monumental, and opening 2 high schools is unprecedented in most communities throughout the United States. So we did a phenomenal thing here. Orion has incredible. Every time I tell anybody about Orion and how we went out to the community and we found need in the community, long-term need that is going to be consistent throughout years and years, and how we focus this school on the needs of our community and CTE, for CTA students or for students who want to start out in an area like the medical profession and go on to get a medical degree. It's just incredible. That school is incredible. Sageview is an amazing school, beautiful school, absolutely stunningly done the way that it was done. One of the things I was most impressed with, though, was the pride of the students. I've toured that school a couple of times, or maybe 3 times in various stages of its development. But my very favorite was when the students took us through, and they didn't have nearly as much information as the adults that took us through. But what they did have was they had served on the committees that helped to pick, to help design and then helped to pick furniture for the school. And these kids were like, we picked this and this, and we did this, and we told them we wanted these chairs, and they got these chairs for us. And you know, it was just incredible that these kids were so invested in the fact, first of all, that their voice was heard, our student voice was heard. Some of these voices came from our Student Superintendent Council in past years, and so they were thrilled. Some of them came from Superintendent Council from 2018 when we started this process. But needless to say, all those voices were heard, they were put into practice, and I think the end product of what Sageview and Orion are reflective of our students who are in the schools and know what they need. The light in the classrooms, the furniture that's comfortable and keeps them engaged. That was incredible. I was able to go to Peak Luncheon. We have an incredible support system with our and not just in Pasco. We have an incredible support system with different businesses throughout all of Tri-Cities, mostly in Pasco, but several that are throughout Tri-Cities. We are blessed with from our community, and especially as things have gotten tighter, we have been able to fund some of the events and different things that we offer through the community coming in these businesses and providing for this. The All-Staff Rally was incredible. It was incredible. It was a circus theme on This Is Me, and it was just a delight to be there. So I just wanted to thank everyone that was involved in all of these things, and even Dr. Alsbury, and we had that meeting with him this week, and he was very willing to work with us and help us to make sure that superintendent evaluation serves the needs of our district. So we were really happy with his guidance and help in helping us to make sure that this works, not just for this superintendent, but for future superintendents, because we have a responsibility to the district to make sure that we are doing one of our most important jobs, and that's to evaluate the superintendent.
I concur with the comments of my 2 colleagues. I just want to wish the students, teachers, and our district staff a wonderful and successful academic year, and I hope all the best for them.
I just kind of wanted to say that, I know that we kind of had our first day of school today for a lot of the freshmen and a lot of seniors, and I'm thinking mainly high school at the moment. And, it's a lighter day today, but tomorrow is going to be like the first main day in Pasco for everybody. And so I just wish that all the teachers who are doing wonderful work have a wonderful day as well. I hope that they're able to get settled in and that everything will go smoothly. And I hope that the new students at Sageview are going to have a wonderful time, and then students returning to, Delta, Chiawana, Pasco. I hope that all of us are going to have a wonderful time, and that this school year we're going to make something great out of it this year.
Yeah, I agree with Aiden. I'm just truly excited to be serving as a student board representative. I think that our role as student board reps goes beyond just here in the boardroom. I think that we're going to take what we've learned these past weeks and just take that to our students and just make sure that we report the work that's being done here in the district out to make sure that everyone's voice is heard, because we truly are. That's what we're doing here, and I'm truly excited for this school year. I think we're going to have an amazing time, and I'm just looking forward to this amazing school year.
Like some of the other board members mentioned, I also attended the Orion and Sageview ribbon cuttings, and it was really exciting seeing a bunch of community members there. And I just want to say congratulations on opening those 2 new schools. I got to tour them, and they're really, really cool. I also want to talk about mention as a fellow Pasco High student of one of the public comments that was said. I want to thank Carter for stepping up and using her voice for good. Last year as a student, I'd see, like, especially as summer rolled in, I saw a lot of like teachers and students relocating classes because the AC in some of the classrooms didn't work. And honestly, that takes time out of the learning day. And that's one way that the AC affects the students learning at Pasco High. And also learning in hot conditions isn't optimal. I wouldn't think so. So, and today, as I was walking down the hallways, saying hi, because I was in freshman orientation, most, if not all, the teachers I went to say hi to had a fan in their classroom because it was just really, really hot, and it's just like heartbreaking to see. But I also saw in some classrooms they were working on the AC, so I really hope the promises that the school district have made do come soon, and I really do hope we see change. Anyways, I also attended the All Staff Rally on Monday, and it was really, really fun. I feel like it was a good event to connect all the district and the staff throughout the district. The performances were really, really good, and I also like The Greatest Showman, so it was a win-win. Like I said, I attended freshman orientation today. I just want to wish good luck to all the new freshmen who are starting their high school career this year. And then tomorrow's my first day of senior year, which is kind of scary. But I just want to say I hope everybody in the school district and students and staff and family have an amazing 25-26 school year. Yeah.
I want to thank the community for showing up to the new high schools that we opened last week, Seichu High and the Orion High School. To be honest, I've never seen a crowd that big. Like, wow, thank you so much for supporting these brand new schools. Today was the freshman orientation. Everything went so well. I'm excited for the freshmen to start their first year at Seichu High. I'm excited for them to start their journey and grow. Really, when I saw the freshmen, I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. Tomorrow's back to school and for the rest of the grades, of course, and I'm excited to start my first year there at Seichu High School, and I want to just give good luck to all the freshmen, and yeah. Oh, by the way, thank you so much for all the teachers that are doing their job and their best. Like, you guys are amazing. I love teachers. Thank you.
I just want to echo what my colleagues have all said about the high school openings. The one thing I was just going to add to that was when I went in there and was touring with some of the staff members and teachers, it was just interesting to notice how excited they were about certain things and willing to show and really proud to show the community what the district had built in this school that was given to the community to use, particularly like in the auditorium, on each of the seats, the embossed old school logo like you'd see in an old theater. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, excited they were to tell you about how that all worked. One thing I just wanted to bring up real quick throughout this whole superintendent evaluation thing, I just something that's been on my mind is sometimes the governance, board governance, and how that works. I don't want to toot the horn of the board, but I do sometimes. I think we have a pretty good balanced board, and I through this situation with the superintendent evaluation, I thought it was a very good indication of how a board who has very different opinions and different ways of looking at things is able to work through an issue, a problem, and come to a solution, and be able to get that resolved. I just want, as a community member, as a parent, I would be very proud of my board, the board in their district, to be able to be supportive of in that way, and just be balanced in how they govern. Let's see here. Oh, another thing I wanted to say too is we have these two new shining schools, and it was wonderful to walk through them. I want the community to know that we haven't forgot about the other two wonderful high schools that we have here as well, especially Pasco, which is, always going to be the flagship of our district. So that is not forgotten about. That's really all I had. touring that school, Ryan, I was able to take my family a little early, and it was so fun to watch my little son just light up. As we were walking through with the project manager, you could just see how excited he was and interested in getting into that CT programs, and that was what it was all about, and it was just very impactful to me. So that's it.
I also attended the ribbon cuttings, and it was really great to see the community turn out. Thank you so much to our Pasco community who passed that bond, and to all the community who showed up. Because I have a schedule that's very similar to a lot of it conflicts with a lot of the times that we have walkthroughs, and also during the all-staff rally. I hadn't been able to tour the schools, and this is another year that I haven't been able to attend the all-staff rally. But during the schools, that was my first time in the schools, and they are beautiful. So thank you again to our Pasco community who approved those schools. And I wish I could have attended the all-staff rally. I know that the district does such a great job of welcoming everyone back, and they really go above and beyond in making everyone feel welcome and excited to return. And I know that although teacher contract days only started this last week, that teachers are in their classrooms much before that, prepping for the year and getting excited to meet their students, and are putting in hours far beyond their contract time. And I appreciate that. As I sat in my school district's Appreciation and Excellence Awards today, where specific staff members are recognized. There was one kindergarten teacher who was recognized, and Keno does it where they have all their family line up, and so they greet them, and they don't know they're going to get the award. And this kindergarten teacher, her grandpa was there, like on a walker, it could barely even get around, but was there just to be so proud of his granddaughter. And I wish that we could recognize every single staff member in this district, and that we could invite their families and say, these people are doing amazing things in our community, because they are, and so much above and beyond what they're paid for. And I think the same thing about our superintendent. If we could have a big recognition of our superintendent, and say, these are the things that she does, and then have her dad here give her a big hug. But I was outside mowing the lawn last night, and I saw my neighbor's kids outside asking me, first day of school tomorrow? And they were like, yeah, we're so excited. But it was so fun to watch them enjoy their last night of summer, and also be so simultaneously excited to go back to school and meet their teachers. It's just such an energizing time, and filled with so much hope. And I just wish the best for everyone this year. And if I could, I would have a celebration for every single staff member.
So I think, had the just amazing privilege as superintendent to be a part of many moments that I talk about are like a push pin in the timeline of the history of Pasco. And I felt that way at the ribbon cuttings. Like, we will forever talk about our district as before and after those events happened. And I just want to acknowledge, Vicki, you spoke at the Sageview ribbon cutting, and you did such a phenomenal job articulating the passion that the students who are attending that school have. So just, Vicki, thank you for being part of that moment. I also want to acknowledge my dad was there, and I try to keep my superintendent life separate from being my dad's daughter life. But it was a pretty special moment to look up and see my dad at that event. And I know my dad's watching, so I love you, Dad. So it just was, again, I've had many moments like that. The other one I'm thinking about tonight is when this board unanimously approved the expansion of dual language into every building in our school district. So just thank you to this community and to this board for allowing me to be parts of those moments. It's not lost on me that not everyone has that opportunity, and I've just been really grateful. Today was the first day of school for some of our grade levels. I spent time at Sageview. It is amazing to me how quickly our staff assimilates new groups of kids every year into these groups of students who've bonded together and already have an identity. I walked into Sageview at 8:30. I think they got there like at 7:30. By 8:30, they felt like a cohesive group of students that had never really left the building, and it was a brand new building, and then went to Orion and witnessed the exact same thing. And that kind of magic does not happen without just very skilled and dedicated individuals who work inside our buildings every day. So we will be welcoming our 7th and 8th graders, 10th through 12th graders, and then Thursday's kindergarten day. The kindergartners come on the 28th. So, so by the end of the week, all of our students will be in school. So it's just I think there's nothing sadder than a school with no kids in it. So by the end of the week, our buildings will be all full of kids learning, and it's like they never left. I also want to just express my gratitude to everyone who attended our annual expo and rally at Pasco High School yesterday. We had one of the largest staff turnouts in the history of the event, and it truly reflected the pride and spirit of Pasco. Our Noe and Jessica helped lead the parade, and Amy was in the parade, and we're just especially grateful to our community members who supported that event. We wanted to be really mindful that we wanted the event to be a powerful celebration of our employees, but we also recognize that we are in a budget tension time, and so we wanted to be really thoughtful about the way that happened, and we really did rely heavily on our community partners this year. Without them, we couldn't have made it happen, so just a huge thank you to them. And then just also a huge thank you to Anna and her staff, Eli and his staff. There's a lot of people who a lot that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen. And a heartfelt thank you to the staff and students who planned and entertained us. It just really was amazing to highlight the students. It just is a great way to kick off the year. I know I'm biased, but I don't think anyone does it better. So, and then I want to extend an invitation to the Dust Devil game. We're celebrating the kickoff of the school year with PSD night at the Dust Devils next Wednesday, the 3rd. The game starts at 6:30. For our staff and families can purchase discount tickets. They'll be available on the website. Students will be welcoming the attendees, singing the national anthem, and one of our student board reps will be throwing out the first pitch. So come celebrate with us. I also wanted to acknowledge Jenny started the tradition for me as superintendent of attending the fair to celebrate our students who make the commitment to participate in FFA. So we went again this year to celebrate those students. And I just want to acknowledge the families and students who make the commitment to participate in FFA. They once again were amazing hosts and doing great work within that program. It's truly has become one of my very favorite things to do is to go and celebrate them. So just honored and privileged to serve this amazing community. So thank you.
Amanda, can I say a couple more things? Yes. I'm so sorry. There was so much that happened. I was literally doing district stuff 6 days in a row. And so there were a couple of things I really wanted to say. I mean, one was a dual language conference that I went to. What we do in Pasco is unprecedented again, maybe even in the whole United States. Every single school has dual language. The United States is behind the rest of the world in the fact that we do not teach all of our students at least 2 languages, but Pasco is, any student that wants to learn 2 languages can. And that conference was amazing to go to. The drummers there were drummers at Orion High School from both Pasco High School and Chihuahua High School, was it? And it's Pasco and Sageview. But what was really cool was at that all-staff rally, I got teary-eyed. You looked up on the little balcony that's above Pasco High School in the student pavilion there where they eat, and all of the drummers were up there, and they went Chihuahua, Pasco, and Sageview, Chihuahua, Pasco, Sageview, and all these drummers all together, and they were every school was represented, and not only were they represented, but they were integrated with everybody. You could just feel a feeling of family there. That was incredible. All the cheerleaders welcomed us that were from all the different high schools. It was just so fun to see those kids interact, so that was incredible. And then I wanted to share one thing that happened this morning. My sister-in-law called me and said, Amy, you have to see what I saw this morning. I was so touched by an experience I had with the superintendent. And my sister-in-law's kids go to the new high school, Sageview High School, and one of these moms got there quite late, and she was bringing her daughter, who was really having a difficult time wanting to go. She suffers from severe anxiety, and she had been homeschooled for a while, and she was just struggling. And she said, I could not believe how impressed I was with your superintendent and how kind and sweet she was with this mother, and assured her and shared some personal experiences, and she was so very impressed with our superintendent and the level of care that she has for each and every student. So that was another incredible thing that happened that just shows the love that our superintendent has for every student in our district. Everyone's important, so thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your communications this evening. We had our executive session earlier before this regular board meeting, and so with that, I will adjourn this regular board meeting of the Pasco School Board of Directors.